Very pleased today to be able to speaking with Rob Madoff. He's current editor of DCNR, colorectal surgeon practicing in Minnesota. Rob, can you tell us briefly how you got interested in colorectal surgery and how your career progressed?
I first got interested with Santhat Navatvangs, known to all of us in Minnesota as Sandy Santhat, known to most people as a colorectal surgeon at the Mayo Clinic. But originally, Sandy was a junior attending at the University of Minnesota. Actually, on my very first service in the University of Minnesota, the Minnesota proctoscopy rectal cancer screening trial was ongoing. And as a new intern, you met Sandy for the first time. I hope Sandy will forgive me for telling the story. It suddenly popped into my head. And there would be a list of 20 people that had to have a procto in the old procto clinic. And Sandy's instructions were, he'd show you one, but his instructions were, don't talk to the patient until they're head down, otherwise they'll say too much. So you would tilt people down and do their proctoscopies. But Sandy was a wonderful guy, gifted teacher, interested mentor, and he actually got me interested in the whole notion of colorectal surgery. And then from there, I got involved with Dr. Goldberg in the big colorectal group in Minneapolis. He was then the division head. And eventually Dave Rothenberger, who took over from Stan after Stan retired from that position. So those were my early years.
So you did your surgery in Minnesota and your fellowship there?
So I did general surgery and my fellowship in Minnesota.
Okay. And never left?
I went back to Massachusetts.
Okay.
So when I first moved to Minneapolis, I used to call my mother in Boston and she'd say, when's the big race? Because she actually could not differentiate Indianapolis from Minneapolis. And when I first moved there, I'd been living in New York just prior. And I was a little taken aback about how culturally it was not really quite as advanced as New York. They want to eat Chinese food, and it was this extinct Chinese food that nobody had cooked in New York for 20 years, egg foo young and chicken chop suey. In my whole residency, I've got to go east again, I've got to go east, and I actually went out to UMass for a couple of years, and was actually perfectly contented, but then got invited back by the group and came back to Minnesota.
All right. So you mentioned Stan and Dave. Do you have other mentors or people that had impact on your?
The whole senior partnership of that group, I think it was, in those days, the faculty was smaller. It was probably 7 or 8 surgeons. Mm-hmm. But Stan and Dave were really the thought leaders. And another guy who was very involved with ASCRS, Mel Bubrick, mm-hmm. Who was just a wonderful guy and a great surgeon at Hennepin County Medical Center, colorectal surgeon. I think was also very influential for me.
Can you describe your initial interaction with society and how your career progressed in the society?
Boy, I wish I could, because it's been so long. So Stan, when I was just starting out, it was just a part of life that you started your practice, you finished your fellowship, you started your practice, and you started thinking about how you could be involved in the society. And then if you left Minnesota, how you could start a fellowship. And Stan was had a pretty solitary thought in mind about that, and that everybody should participate and contribute. And that's, I think, how Stan built the big program in Minnesota, is really being very single-minded about it. So I got involved in some committees. I'm sure much the same way that you did. You start getting involved in things. Eventually get increasing responsibilities through various committees and different jobs in the society. Found my way to the journal. Actually, I first became an associate editor. I had to look it up today. It was 2001, mm-hmm. So quite a few years ago. And then gradually worked my way through the ranks there.
What do you say has changed about the journal during your leadership?
There have been quite a few not terribly consequential changes. We've changed publishers a few times. I think what's the more important things, one cosmetic, but I think important, is that we redesigned the journal. So when I took it over, was really an old black and white journal. We didn't have any standards for our graphs. We didn't have any standards for the artwork. People would send in papers. Their most talented fellow or junior resident who could draw an anus with some striations for the external muscle or something like that would send little pictures with a little cancer there, and it would get published just as it was. And we wanted to standardize the look, make the graphs look the same, make the tables look neater. So we went through a big redesign process. I think that's one piece. The other piece is that I think that we've increasingly focused, and the most important piece is that we've increasingly focused on improving the quality of the journal. And this has not necessarily always been a popular move, but really what it meant was being more stringent in our acceptances and trying to put ourselves, somewhat of an editorial we, myself, the co-editors and me, in the shoes of the reader and say, what is good value for our readership to read? What's fluff or misleading or bad that we can not have in the journal? So I think that's been the most fundamental change, is that I think really the quality of the articles that we accept, and actually the quality of the submissions, have gone up tremendously in the past 10, 15 years.
What do you say you enjoy most about the specialty?
What I enjoy most is kind of the generic being a doctor and actually being able to take care of human beings and do something for people who have problems and make them better. It's terribly cliched, and when I was younger, I never wanted to admit to it because it was sort of too sappy. But actually, I think that's the most important part of this. With colorectal surgery, we're really fortunate because we have a lot of conditions that we can really make people better. We take care of so much colorectal cancer, all of us, not just the editorial we, but our whole society has become such a treatable cancer in so many instances. Even the more advanced cancers, we have so much more to offer now than we used to. We can cure ulcerative colitis. We have so many bowel-sparing things for inflammatory bowel disease. And all the simple conditions that we treat as well. There are conditions that we can give a patient an answer to and resolve their problem. So I think there have been so many different opportunities to impact people's lives in a positive way.
Where do you see the society going in the future?
Well, we're all amazingly lucky about the kind of fellows that we're able to attract to the society. And if you compare a cross-section, if you took a core sample biopsy and looked at the cross-section of this year's fellows compared to the ones when I was applying to fellowship, the quality is unbelievably high. Their accomplishments are unbelievably high. There's a great deal of energy and enthusiasm, interest in new things, research background, outcomes background, that all of this, I think, is improving the level of discourse in the society, improving our society's contributions to surgery, to medicine in general, to colorectal surgery in specific. So I think that I expect our society to be increasingly influential as spokespeople for our specialty.
What challenge do you see for our specialty in the next few years?
Well, for our society, I think the challenge actually is to make what I just said happen, to have an increased impact in the cancer world, to be more involved in the national trials in colorectal cancer treatment, more be involved in inflammatory bowel disease trials, where to a lesser extent the surgery is not considered as central now as cancer, but really ought to be. So I think that as a society we have to expand our influence based upon our track record and be more integral to the big studies. The other challenges, I suppose, are the generic challenges of practicing medicine in the early part of the 21st century. There are many things in flux. The surgical lifestyle is a tough one compared to other options for people. Attracting the best and the brightest, I think we've really been able to do, but we have to be able to maintain that to keep our position.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add?
Only that it's been a wonderful experience to be a part of this society. You know, going into this, I would say one thing that I really felt when I chose this specialty, and so many trainees will tell you the same exact thing, and you probably felt the same way, is that the kind of people that get attracted to this society are real human beings. They're not stupendously ego-driven, certainly. They are ego-driven enough, but compared to other specialties, really wonderful, warm people that want to associate with each other, and it's really been a privilege to be a part of the society and have an official role in it and trying to ensure its future.
Rob, we appreciate you spending time with us and sharing your thoughts. Thank you.
Great talking with you, Dave. Thanks very much.